When this story was sent to me, I literally said, is this the return of the Mann Act? And we'll go over what the Mann Act is as we go later on into this story. But this story right here is coming out of Florida, where you have this couple right here whose names are Anthony Williams and Katasian. I'm gonna be honest with you, I cannot pronounce this woman's name, but I'll just say her first initial is K and her last name is Shoshoka. So this woman definitely is foreign in some capacity. Now, as you can clearly see, he is a black man and she is a white woman, but she probably is an American, at least not with a name like that. And this man is actually older than her. This man is in his 50s and she's in her 30s. As a matter of fact, I believe he's 54 or 53 and she's like 34. Well, they were on their way to their honeymoon when all of a sudden somebody who works for American Airlines had made this very bold claim out of nowhere that she was in danger and somehow, some way he was trafficking her. Let's go ahead and get into it. A black retired police officer claims in a newly filed lawsuit that he was falsely accused of trafficking his wife, who was white, on an American Airlines flight while they were on their way to celebrate their honeymoon. The retired cop, Anthony Williams, and his wife, Kay Shoshoka, were on a flight from Phoenix to Miami in September 2022 when they claimed that a passenger accused Williams of human trafficking and reported him to airline employees, according to their complaint, which was filed in federal court in the Southern District of Florida. Upon landing, our clients were falsely imprisoned by American Airlines employees who escorted them off the plane. They were made to wait, confused and embarrassed as the other passengers deplaned and walked by them, Williams and Shoshoka's attorney alleged in the complaint. The plaintiffs say they were humiliated by the experience and they claimed that defendants had no reason to suspect that Shoshoka was in any danger. The airline's actions allegedly caused plaintiffs to experience mental pain and suffering, sleeplessness, paranoia, panic attacks, fear, anxiety, embarrassment, humiliation, the complaint states. The complaint names American Airlines as well as the passenger who reported the plaintiffs and two airline employees as defendants and accuses them of racial discrimination. American strives to provide a positive experience to everyone who travels with us, the airline says in a statement to People. We are reviewing the allegations of the complaint. The lawsuit also referenced a 2023 incident in which musician David Ryan Harris, who was black, was stopped on the jetway by an American Airlines employee and police officers in Atlanta and accused of trafficking his own kids who were biracial. Harris, who has played guitar in John Mayer's band for years and has collaborated with Dave Matthews, said that he believed a flight attendant called and reported that the musician's children possibly weren't actually his because they didn't respond during an interaction with her. At American, the safety and security of our customers and team members are our top priorities. We strive to create a positive, welcoming environment for everyone who travels with us and apologize for any misunderstanding that may have occurred, the airline told People following the 2023 incident. A member of our team has reached out to the customer to learn more about their experience and address their concerns. To go back to the part where the kid did not address the lady, they probably didn't address you because you were a stranger. Many people don't like their kids just talking to people that they don't know. I mean, I know that's how it was with my parents growing up, and that's something that's still very much in place today. Harris later posted that the airline reached out to him to let him know that the flight attendant offered a quote-unquote heartfelt apology. A heartfelt apology? You need to do more than that because you was about to accuse this man of quote-unquote probably kidnapping his own kids when that wasn't even the case. Now back to this story right here. Now, one thing that probably tipped them off about this thing right here, even though this wasn't the case, is because of the age. Again, this Anthony guy, he's older. He's way older than her. As a matter of fact, this guy's old enough to be her dad. He's like 53. They didn't mention it in the article, but the man is older. And she's like 34. Even though I'm gonna be honest with you, she don't look it, because looking at her picture, she looks vastly older than him. If I was them, I would sue them. I think he is. I think he's suing them for about $75,000. Honestly, I probably would go for more because this could have led to this could have turned dark very fast. This could have led to a bunch of repercussions that many couldn't be able to come back from. But I wanted to bring up the Mann Act, because when I look at this story right here, that is the first thing that came to my mind when I heard about this story. So for those of y'all who don't know what the Mann Act is, the Mann Act, also known as the White Slave Traffic Act of 1910, is a federal law that prohibits the transportation of people for the purpose of prostitution or other sexual crimes. And one of the most infamous people, well, not infamous, but one of the most famous people to fall under the Mann Act, and I think they were probably one of the first people to be tried under the Mann Act, was Jack Johnson. It says the Mann Act was a federal law that criminalized the transportation of women across state lines for immoral purposes. Jack Johnson was convicted under the Mann Act in 1913, which was 3 years after the Mann Act was enacted, for transporting a white woman from Pittsburgh to Chicago. However, the law was used to persecute Johnson politically and was motivated by public outrage over his interracial relationship. So basically, the woman was not in any danger. She willingly went with him, and this is actually documented that Jack Johnson was very well known for messing with a lot of white women. And as a matter of fact, I think there's a story that one of his opponents that he beat in a fight, his wife, the opponent's wife, who was white, left with Jack Johnson. And I can't remember if the wife was the woman that was with him or if this is another woman, but I do remember hearing that story. I said Jack Johnson was a wild boy back in the days. He just didn't care. He like, I'm gonna beat you in the ring and I'm gonna take your woman. And that's exactly what he did. And they didn't like that. But the woman, as far as I know, willingly went with him. It's not like he kidnapped her and dragged her across state lines for, as they call it, immoral purposes. It's just that at that time, interracial relationships was heavily frowned upon. It was practically illegal. And because Jack Johnson was a big public figure, that was a huge no-no, as they would call it. And they had to get him up out of here. So he got convicted and tried and convicted under the Mann Act. And that's what makes me, when I look at the story that we're talking about right now, it reminds me of this one right here. And there are so many other stories that have come out over the years, especially when it's a black man in particular. I believe there were stories where there was a black man who was babysitting or watching like some white kids, and someone thought that the kids were being kidnapped and a whole bunch of other stuff. But this one, as far as the subject matter goes, this lines right up with the Mann Act perfectly. In the case of this one, this Anthony Williams guy would be Jack Johnson, and his white wife would be the white woman Jack Johnson was traveling across state lines with. But as you can see, even if you think that you're going to be safe in an interracial relationship, and this goes for men and women, but in this case with the men, don't think for a second you are that protected or that nothing can actually happen. And what I find to be even more interesting, and I was going to leave this part out, but I'll just throw it in here for the sake of argument anyway, is you have a lot of, unfortunately, black people who are in interracial relationships who would love to come down on black people saying, oh, it's black people that don't like seeing us together. Oh, it's black people, why they always got to be in our business, and black people this and black people that. I highly doubt that it was a black person that made this accusation on this man against him and his wife to say he was trafficking her. I'm willing to bet from dollars to donuts that it was a white person or white persons that did that, because typically they're the ones that kind of fall into that category of making those kind of accusations. It lines right on up there with the whole big black boogeyman narrative. Hook, line, and sinker. Well, I don't know how far this is going to go. Hopefully it, works out for the both of them in the end. It should, considering the anguish that both of them were put through, and they had said this happened back in 2022. Here we are in 2025, and this story is just now being reported on a more widespread, I guess you could say, mainstream scale.